What was your first, what we call business encounter? Real business encounter. Because business, from my perspective, I'm going to tell you, means only one thing, but I don't want to dilute your definition. So I'm going to ask you quickly, give me your definitions first. What that word means to you. When you hear that word, when you act on that word, when somebody calls you and says that word to you, I want to do business with you. I want to have a business meeting. What does that mean? What is that word? Either one of you can answer.
I mean, the regular definition of it is to exchange dollars for a product or service. So that's the simplest way to say it, right?
That's what it really means, but I mean, I get rappers and people tweet me talking about, man, they talk business and they want to talk about how can I make the artist famous or how can I put the artist on stage, how can they get a verse from Rick Ross. That's not business. The business is what he said, exchanging, dollars to make something happen. But I know for me, a lot of people confuse business with conversation and confuse business with asking for a favor for free. So
I'm Percy Beatty. I'm a producer, songwriter here from Chicago.
And you happen to just be holding a Grammy and something like that too. Just kind of holding that thing,
Yeah, this year I got a nomination as well again.
Let's give him a round of applause. That's you. All right.
So the question is,
business. What is the definition of business mean to you, and what was your first business transaction or business? That's what I mean to me.
Well, I'm probably the most unique person on this panel because I represent probably the Christian music. So my perspective may be a little bit different. In the Christian world, business doesn't mean business. So let me just say it. I'm gonna talk real. In the Christian world, business means what you were talking about at first. When you talk about how people say, well, we're good friends, we have relationships, so, we can do business. But it doesn't necessarily translate to money. So in my learning, from my perspective, I started to understand that business really meant money. How can we mutually sit together and benefit from what each other can offer each other from a business aspect? My first business dealing, Kevin, I was 16 years old. I had wrote some songs, I was excited, and had an opportunity to record them. Well, flash forward years, now, and I'm in the process of trying to get my publishing back from songs which were taken back when I was 16 years old. That was my first business deal.
Wow.
Because I wasn't wise, didn't have the right surrounding. So, from a business aspect, surround yourself with people that know the business.
There's another word which I'm going to go into next that you need to focus on before you even get to business, which a lot of you don't focus on. It's called relationship.
That's it.
A lot of you be so quick to talk about business, you don't even know who you in business with. You don't even know what they do or what they're capable of. So you get took. Then you come with the mean face and the mug and you want to be mad at somebody and say because you got burned, everybody else needs to reap the repercussions of the person who burned you. Maybe that was just God spanking you. So you will wise up and learn that relationships. So that's my next thing to you. Relationships, y'all, over here in my panel. When did that first become important to you, or did you get burned before you learned what that really, really meant? Or how did you learn what the value of relationship meant? Because you are business.
West Side, and I remember as a kid, my dad worked at the post office, but he was close friends with Jermaine Jackson. And we lived on North Avenue and Central, and Jermaine Jackson would come to our house. And I was a kid, and I'm like, I was a Michael Jackson fan, so Jermaine Jackson was whatever, but seeing Jermaine Jackson come to the west side of Chicago to come to my dad's house because of the relationship he had, I always noticed that. And coming from the west side, my dad can go back to Fosco Park, go back to the Bills and Jane Addams, the Village, whatever, and no one had anything bad to say about him. Fast forward that to when I was a kid, my dad bought me a computer, and he told me about the internet. He told me, as long as you have this internet and you a 100 dude, you never have to leave Chicago, but you can talk to everybody in the world. So I built my career on social media relationships. I haven't gotten to where I'm at because I was the brightest kid. I've always maintained relationships. I always knew that guy. You know, the last artist I worked with, Rocky Fresh, we did a deal with Maybach Music, and we got the deal because Rick Ross liked our video. He sent a tweet. He DM'd us and wanted to have a meeting. But I just happened to have a good friend named Sarah Anwar who worked that bad boy. I called her and was like, yo, Rick Ross want to sign us. I don't know if we want to do this deal. Can you tell us more about Maybach Music? And next thing you know, 2 days later, Diddy calls on my phone to talk to Rocky Fresh, and now this bidding war starts. So now we go from a super rape deal to a not so rapist deal because we had some leverage, but it all came from a phone call. And I knew her from her days at Columbia. Everybody thought I went to Columbia, but I went to art school. I just hung up there. But it was all based on relationships. Like, I can honestly say, I've lived in Chicago my whole life. I worked with every artist I looked up to, every athlete, every brand. And it was all because a phone call, a cosign here, anytime anybody ever gave me a business card, I used it. Don't take a business card if you're not going to send an email or follow up. If you're not going to do it, don't take the business card. But, you know, it's just me hitting people when I don't need anything. Like, sir, you know what I'm saying? I met you, blah, blah, blah. Just checking in with you. This is what I'm working on. God bless. And that has gotten so many doors open for me that wouldn't have opened. So it's all about relationships, not needing someone for something, but just being a humble, God-fearing person and staying blessed. So I'm only here because I'm super blessed to have relationships. It's not about my education or that, but seeing Jermaine Jackson eat a pork chop sandwich on the west side of Chicago changed my life.
I read this magazine, and the guy was in there, he said, I love to develop young executives. And I just looked at it like, oh my God, where are you at? I happened to be at this conference. I played a record. I got asked by a person at that worked at NCA to play this record called Love Overboard. And I played the record, and she said, my boss is here. Can you please play? It was at a luncheon. We had a luncheon. I said, play it again. I played it again. She said, my boss want to meet you so bad. I walk over, and it's the guy seen in the magazine. His name is Ernie Singleton. At the time, he was president of MCA Records. And he's standing there. He said, kid, you want to go to lunch with me? Let's talk. I'm babbling, and I don't know what to do because I'm trying to figure out what the hell I'm going to say because I just didn't believe that moment would come. The moment led to this man taking me under his wing, helping me understand, beating it in my head what the record business was, and all the mistakes I was making, he showed me what those mistakes was. And then he gave me an example of what I was going to be. He pointed out a guy named David Linton to me, who was a VP at a major level. He said, David was one of my kids. He pointed out about 10 people to me that he helped develop. He said, these are my kids, and you're going to be my kid, and you're going to change the way you are, and you're going to be something in this business. And not only did he have them to do with that, but he turned me on to other people, and my whole existence in this industry has been through relationships. Times when I didn't think I was gonna eat again, somebody pick up the phone and be, I got a job for you. You wanna make $2,000, $3,000? You wanna do this? You wanna do that? And they reach in their pocket and they help each other. So,
here's the thing. A lot of the names that he's dropping, and most of you all don't even know. And the sad thing is that you see the flash, you see the reality shows, you see the Making the Band, you see all that shit that's dropped. But for the names he's dropping, and even, for example, when I went to New York a few weeks ago, it's people that I came up as street team members. Like, that's how far back I go. I was one of the lead, like probably the only female street marketer in the game, holding down 20 projects at one time. And a lot of my street teammates around the country are now executive VPs at labels. So if I roll into LA or New York, oh, Mary, come on up. Because it's the relationships. The names he's dropping, those are the people that are hiring the people that you want to admire. That's how far back the roots of relationships go. Let me repeat. How many of you all know Geo Bivens? many of you all know Benny Pugh? These are some of the key people that actually sign a great deal of these A&R product development checks and write off their budgets. These are people that you need to really know. The actual people that run those departments that you so admire as A&R. Everybody's fantasizing A&R, A&R, A&R. That's a fantasy word. Anyone to tell you I'm an A&R for this, no. It ain't even going down like that.
Mary, I'm so glad you went there.
So, I know it's the liquor.
I'm so glad.
You deal with people who come at you with titles and try to introduce themselves as something. How do you find out who they are? Or
Yeah, you know, like I like the way Percy kind of said it. You know, a lot of times you have to check people out. You make a phone call because everybody knows somebody. You know, titles don't mean a lot, and when people, if they say they can do everything, you know, chances are it means they can do nothing. You know, that's the one thing that I learned about industry jargon, if you will. But you know, it's also too about breaking down what somebody says they do. You know, you should just ask, you know, I always ask people, so what's your day to day? You know, what can you do? And then I'll ask them, how does that affect me? You know, so as people kind of grandiose themselves and, you know, talk about all the stuff that they do, you know, well, okay, so how does that affect me? How can we put a check or get a check together? I know I sat on the panel one time and Kevin told me something real. He said, well, I'm not going to introduce Burundi with any titles, but what he's good at doing is finding the dollar and figuring out how it flows and make sure that he gets in between it somewhere. I said, damn, that's a good title, because that's kind of what I do, you know. But my point is that the number one thing to just figure out is what's the alliance, you know. Because if I'm talking to the vice president of A&R at, you know, Universal, and I know y'all ain't got no budget because, you know, Big Sean did Wood, 2 Chainz did Wood, and y'all ain't got no check left for the end of the year, you have no value to me if I'm trying to get that. So then the next conversation becomes, well, where can we create a value platform? So working with people is all about creating those value platforms. The other thing I realized in the music industry is that positions and people change. You know, I had somebody that was at an organization that any kids in here? That was acting very shitty. You know, just like not being nice, wasn't recognizing the God. You know, I'm like, man, you talking to me like this? Like, okay, that's cool. And I'm on a phone call the other day, getting Grammy tickets together, you know, and I look at my phone, I see Neris, you know, ring in from LA. I'm like, okay, well, hello? Yeah, da-da-da. Okay, well, this is Burundi, you know, I handle the ticketing for that. Burundi? Oh, this is such and such, such and such. I'm like, damn, you the asshole from the other place that I didn't like, and now I got, okay. And I kind of keep it 100, and I'm from 35th and from 22nd right around here, so I don't really like hold punches, which is probably why I've never had an industry job, I'm sure. Everybody ever offered me one. But, you know, I told him about himself. I said, man, you know, you was acting kind of crazy at the, you know, I wouldn't say it so bad, but you was acting kind of crazy last year at the such. That's why I don't really mess with you like that. I was like, oh, but now you got to call me, you need this kind of thing. Well, who's your boss? I don't even want to talk to you. And I played them just like that, because you got to be careful how you treat folk.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? You got to be careful, you know? And so when I got on with, they boss said, why don't you want to deal with this guy? Oh, because he was an asshole to me, and I didn't like him, so I didn't want to talk to him. So this is what this is. So I found out through the grapevine a couple days ago, like, man, dude got demoted as a result of that. You know, and I said, well, hey, not my problem. You should have treated me better the first time around. So the reality becomes, though, just, you know, find a value platform to work with people on. And the first thing that you have to identify, somebody else's title doesn't help you unless you identify how it does. So you have to create that value, whatever it is.